Hello everyone, my name is Kezia Vida and this is Dreamwork for the People. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you're here and I'm really excited to be talking about this very juicy topic that it's taken me a while to kind of tackle, but I'm really looking forward to it, and it's all about lucid dreaming. So I know there's a lot of information about lucid dreaming out there and I just wanted to share my perspective. Basically, since I started doing dream work about 7 years ago, most of the time when I tell people I work with dreams, a lot of times they assume that I do lucid dreaming. And the reality is I've really only had maybe 2 or 3 lucid dreams in the past 10 years. And, I really have no desire necessarily at all to pursue lucid dreaming. I don't think that it is important for me personally in my dream practice. And I really just wanted to share why. One of the reasons I've been reticent to create this video is because, again, it's so popular, right? Lucid dreaming is one of the most researched topics. People always seem to be interested in wanting to learn more about how they can lucid dream. And it seems to be the way that people want to work with their dreams more often than not. And there are a lot of people that I respect and admire, and I know their hearts are in the right place and they're doing their work with integrity, and they teach about lucid dreaming and they focus on lucid dreaming, and that's what their work is all about. And so I hate to create something, especially within the dream world that's already so small, that would seem to be critical or in some ways, just suggesting that might not be the only path or the best path to take. But I also feel like this information is important to share, again, because people kind of have a lot of misconceptions about lucid dreaming in relationship to dream work, and I want to kind of bust them open because I think that it could be blocking people from developing a strong, potent, powerful, transformational practice with their dreams. So that's what this video is all about. The 3 myths that I hear a lot of the times when people are talking about lucid dreaming that I just don't think are necessarily true. The first one is just, again, this idea that lucid dreaming is the best way, the most efficient way, the most practical way, or really a true way of working with your dreams and getting something out of them. The next thing that people often, I think, have the idea about lucid dreaming, because it can be so challenging, is that if you can achieve lucid dreaming, if you can finally lucid dream every night or lucid dream really often, then you are somehow spiritually enlightened or advanced, or you have reached some kind of nirvana state. You've achieved this new goal, and that will somehow make you, more spiritually powerful or whatever it is. And I just think that whole framework is a little bit problematic. I'm going to talk about why. And finally, I think there's a lot of times people will say, and this is what the advertisement will be, is that if you lucid dream, you will become more lucid in your life. And I really want to break down that claim and just kind of look at what are dreams good for, what can dreams do, and what can we use them for. Okay, so one of the very first things, again, that people like to talk about is that lucid dreaming is the best way, or the way, basically, to work with your dreams. Now, of course, as someone who doesn't lucid dream and yet has dedicated themselves to dream work, I can tell you right now that's completely untrue. And of course, we know there are many, many ways that people like to work with their dreams, and it doesn't matter whether your dream was a lucid dream or not. And I think that this idea, again, comes from something that I find over and over, which is that people tend to be very judgmental of the material in their dreams. This is very natural because, again, our dreams often bring us into contact with things that we would rather suppress, avoid, deny, or just not recognize within our conscious life. I think this is another reason why we have the instinct to want to lucid dream, which is, again, this idea that you are able to control the material in your dream or somehow direct the dream in a way where you are the one kind of determining what happens in the dream because you recognize that it is a dream. So I think the reason a lot of times people want to do that, again, is because they are not enjoying or appreciating or feeling like the material that their dream is bringing them into contact with, they're just not liking it. So they would rather, and this is not everyone, of course, that lucid dreams, but a lot of times I think it's people who are having disturbing experiences within their dreams and feeling like, well, if only I could lucid dream, then I could get out of this disturbing experience. I could somehow will myself out of it. Now, of course, as someone who works with dreams, just regular dreams, and doesn't really have that desire, I can tell you that there are other ways of approaching the material that do not require you to be lucid within the dream itself, to generate more acceptance, more capacity to be present with, and even the opportunity to integrate some of this material that, again, your conscious mind, your willpower, you could even say the egoic mind, who has its idea about what's good and what's bad and what would be better, isn't available in there. Another reason that I think it can be, kind of a shame if people are so focused on lucid dreaming and not allowing their dreams to just be what they are, is because of the capacity for the imagination. So in our lucid dreaming practice, right, we have some idea about what we want the dream to be about, or what we want to discover, or what we think, is interesting or important for us to look at inside of our lives. Well, our dreams have a totally other agenda that has nothing to do with our conscious mind and nothing to do with the stories that we've been telling ourselves about what's important or what's wrong with us or what we need to focus on or any of those things. When we are asleep and our conscious mind is not as conscious, right, and doesn't have that same willpower, the same sense of self, we come in contact with things that we literally could not imagine unless we were asleep and we were dreaming. So I don't understand really why people would want to cut off that opportunity. I feel like the dream realm is this place where we get to access our imagination and the place in us literally that we could not consciously imagine. And if anyone's ever had the experience of waking up from a dream and being like, oh my God, why was I there with this person doing that? You know exactly what I'm talking about. People might have the idea that if you can lucid dream, you are somehow more spiritually involved, more spiritually advanced, or reaching some kind of high spiritual state. I think this comes up because lucid dreaming is really, really hard, especially if you're not someone who normally does, right? You have to put in a lot of conscious effort to lucid dream if it's not something that your brain or your mind typically does. Now, there are certainly people, and I've met them, who lucid dream quite naturally, and it's very normal for them to do it on a consistent basis. But for most people, it's really not. It's very difficult. And so I think because it's so hard, people sometimes feel like if they can achieve it, then they've really, reached some kind of high spiritual state and they are able to do something that a lot of other people can't do. Now, of course, that's true. But I guess for me, one of the things that I love about dreams and that they've taught me so succinctly is that this whole framework in our minds of if I do this enough and I work hard enough and I achieve this, then I will be there and I will have arrived and I will have become what I was supposed to become, right? This whole idea of nirvana, I mean, it happens in all different practices, in yoga and meditation. It's almost a kind of competitive drive, or even if it's just with ourselves, right? This idea that spirituality or high spiritual states are something that you can achieve. And when you've done so, then you're spiritual, you're good, you're this, you're that. And dreams, as I've found over and over, are really not so interested in those things. They really teach us how to get out of the frame of mind that there's a point A to point B and that there's a rational path that you can take to achieve to get what you want, in this like concept that we have of what we want that might not really be true to our souls, right? True to who we really are, but really is much more about stories that we've told ourselves or stories that we've heard from other people about what we should want or what achievement should look like. And so again, I feel like dreams are trying to challenge us in a lot of ways out of that mindset. And if we have that approach through a lucid dreaming method, really, it can happen just with regular dreams as well, right? Where we think like, oh, only if I have these magical astral plane dreams where I'm contacting beings and then I'm highly spiritual. But if I have a mundane dream where I'm on the toilet and I'm peeing everywhere, that means, I'm a piece of shit. Well, no, that's not true, okay? I'm here to tell you that's definitely not true. And again, what I found over and over is that dreams are such a humbling force in my life. They really keep me grounded. They keep me humble. They keep me in contact, yes, with all of my parts of humanity that I think are endemic and natural to every single human being. And I do not think we reach higher spiritual states through trying, again, this is almost like a spiritual bypassing, right? Through trying to pretend like we don't have these human flaws, we don't have shadows, we don't have things that we struggle with. And dreams remind us over and over, yes, we do. And that's not meant to shame us. It's really meant to ground us and help us to understand that we are human beings. And in our natural state, with our flaws, with our imperfections, our ideas of things that should be wrong with us or aren't good about us, we are still whole. We are still loved. We are still capable of amazing and beautiful acts of love and compassion in our day-to-day lives. And our dreams also bring us into contact with those possibilities. So again, I really don't like when lucid dreaming can seem almost like this competitive sport. One of the last things I hear a lot of people talk about is this idea that if you lucid dream, you will become more lucid in your waking life. And this one's really fascinating to me because, of course, dreams really bring up a lot of questions about reality and consciousness, right? What is it? What makes something more real? What makes something more fake? What makes something more lucid or not? And of course, everybody has the desire for clarity in their lives. I mean, who doesn't want that? And I think that's also part of the reference, like this idea that you could become lucid in your life, that you could feel more in control, more in your capacity to discern, what is for you and go for it and achieve and, that type of thing. But again, what dreams often bring me into contact with is this reality that is a little more complex, which is that the truth itself is complex, right? That what's really true is often contradictory, confusing, challenging, and there's a lot of depth to it. So this idea that we could just suddenly get a clarity and just know everything for sure, I think time and time again, and maybe you've been through this experience, it often doesn't pan out, right? And what I found to be a deeper truth that I can really stand in is one that has capacity for that complexity and for that, reality that things are often good and bad, or things often feel a little bit exciting and a little bit scary, or, all of this sort of like depth to things where, I don't know if lucid is the best word. Now, of course, people have different ideas about what that word means. And if you want to have more lucidity in your life, in the sense that you want your life to feel more visceral, to feel more real, to feel alive and awakened in your day-to-day life, that there's a quality to things that really inspires you and makes you want to move and act in a juicy, fully embodied way. I don't know anything better than just dreams themselves to help you do that. And whether it's lucid dreams or regular dreams, I feel like dreams in and of themselves teach us to really get comfortable with those states. And instead of being in that place of resistance that wants to control, really teaching us what it's like to feel so deeply in our hearts, in our souls, of what we truly want, and to go for those things even in the face of difficult truths, complexities, and things that might be a little bit more challenging. So, and I just want to tell you, the dream you had last night, no matter what it was about, has something for you and is bringing you into contact with something that can help you live a more embodied, integrated, full, and, truly truth-centered life. And I just really want to invite you on that journey. I have many other videos on this channel to help you out. I'd love for you to check them out. And thank you so much for being here. And of course, if you are a lucid dreamer and you disagreed with some of the things I said, I'd love to hear your feedback. I really love to be in dialogue with you. This is all made with love, and I think the conversation is really interesting, and I'd love to talk about it more. So again, if there's points that I missed, things you'd like me to address, I'd love to hear about that and talk more about this topic, because I think it's really important. All right, dreamers, I hope you have a great day, and thanks so much. Don't forget to hit subscribe if you're interested in more videos about dreams. I'm going to be making a lot more, and I'm really looking forward to being with you. Okay, bye.